Hey, King.
Hey, Beard.
How you doing, buddy?
I don't know. Tolerable, I guess.
Talk about it. Chop it up.
Talk about it.
Yeah. This is a show where we talk about feelings. It's a heel's guide to survival. This isn't heel turn radio. This is us at our most John Boy Silver and Beard. This is what we do. Or let's not talk about it.
I'm just tired. It's been a long week, and it's only Tuesday.
True story.
So, I just don't feel that great, and I was really disappointed in the weekend. So so I got that going for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's just I don't know if I felt like I was. I don't know. I don't know. It was a rough. I still feel kind of crappy. I was very proud of everybody, but I was I don't like missing out, and I was very just kind of like, oh well, this is just another thing on the pile, and really sore. I don't enjoy that. Haven't slept very well because I'm so sore. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just not been real good. I don't really know how to explain it. I thought that maybe after the election, I'd feel a little bit better, but I don't. And it may be just because like this is just a never-ending morass of bullshit, and I don't see any type of end in sight.
Yeah.
That's about it. I mean, yeah. Let that excitement just wash over you.
I'm in it, dude. I mean, I think this is probably the lowest go at the beginning, but I mean, if we're talking about survival, I mean, what are you doing to kind of help that? I mean, is there something that we can?
No. I'm just trying to work through it and just trying to, I don't know, kind of look at things in a fashion where that idea that tomorrow will probably be a little bit better than today. It's not always that way. And sometimes I'm pretty sure that's a extremely naive thing to think. But it just, I was telling you before we started, we found out work today during an all staff meeting that we will now be at home through at least the end of April. And you had said, oh, that's a good thing. And it is, but it also isn't. I'm just, this last weekend and extra life on top of just like not being able to do it physically was very hard because it was super cool, all the digital part of it. But one of the reasons I enjoy that is because we all get together. And there was just kind of this overwhelming avalanche of how much I not getting that is like affecting me. Um, don't get me wrong, I don't miss like going down to downtown and parking at the library or dealing with that shit. Um, or going to the Franklin Library and going, man, I hope I don't have to use the bathroom because if I do, I'm gonna have to find a different building. But I miss like just simplistic things. I miss seeing my friends and like just hanging out, playing some board games at a table in my basement. And I miss, even though I don't see them, I miss having the option of getting in a car and driving either to Iowa or all the way to Kansas and knowing that everybody's okay and being able to, just even if it's for a little bit of time, see my nephew. Um, I know that it's very difficult on my wife to know that it's her birthday and it's not going to be a thing where we get to see her family, and that's probably not going to be a thing for Thanksgiving or possible, and probably not for Christmas. I absolutely am beyond frustrated by the fact I just watch numbers rise and rise and rise, and knowing that people are getting sick and that essential workers are overworked, underpaid, and then basically in the maw of a never ending death trap, and that people keep dying. And I don't see an end in sight. And it's very disheartening. And I am very cognizant of that right now. And it's upsetting. And I'm actually so tired today that I don't even have the energy to be anxious. Um, there are good things in the world, and I don't even feel like I have the energy to look at them and be excited about them. Like this is me being excited. And in that, I just feel depressed. You know, I know that my medication does its job, and I'm not at a point where like I have been before, where I can't get out of bed or that I'm so anxious I can't do anything. But I just don't see a light at the end of any tunnel. And I jokingly would say months ago that I feel like I'm living in Groundhog Day, but I am living in Groundhog Day. And it is slowly eroding like my sanity.
Can I
Yeah.
share a bright point in all of that for you?
You can share whatever you want.
You called it Groundhog Day, and that is correct. It is not Groundhog's Day for all you morons out there.
Philistines.
Yeah, there's
You
only one
her-
groundhog. The
you
day doesn't belong to him. It's just about him. Okay.
you Bill Murray heretics.
Yeah.
Um yeah,
I
I
mean,
that's where I'm at.
how in the past have you kind of drawn out of things like this? You know, I mean, I find myself, kind of at a loss. It's tough to see, you know, friends and family, just kind of caught in this spiral and not really have that. And I think that, for me, thinking about, our guide to survival, it's not always cheery or sunny. I think that that's kind of the point, is that we're all going through this, and, to varying degrees, kind of weathering it, by different means. And, I think obviously with your health, it's a lot harder, to be able to be out in the world, even, in the kind of most safe conditions, which we don't really know, what they are. I mean, it's a novel coronavirus. It's novel because we haven't seen it before, and it keeps changing. And, um, you know, I don't think obviously by the spikes that people are taking that as seriously as they need to be. And so I don't know.
Um, I used to like find really good solace in just other people, um, like seeing them and then hearing them talk about how things are going and kind of reveling in their successes and being there for their not so strong successes and just having very candid conversations and doing things like again playing a board game or watching a shitty movie or um
Except for Devil Doll from Hell.
yeah but this is not the same. It's like gluten-free pizza crust. It'll subsist, but it tastes like cardboard. Um, and it'll make your poop real crappy. Um,
I think that's an
so I don't,
oxymoron, then.
but I think that I have, as much as I am very insular, I am very much enjoy people that I enjoy people that I actually have investment in. And I am not I'm not finding that right now. And that's my solace. And I am kind of without, and my job is good. And I am successful in that, but it's tasteless as far as one of the reasons I enjoy that job and enjoy human services in general is getting to meet people in the community, take them where they are in that day and help them. And doing that over Zoom or, God forbid, phone calls or even less so emails, it's not the same, and it doesn't hold a whole lot of interest to me. It begins to feel more like going through the motions rather than kind of meeting the challenge of the day for the person. I don't like that feeling very much. Um, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't like any of this. Like, I don't enjoy any of this right now. There's really, like, I can't figure out, like, it's like when you're hungry for something and you can't figure out what it is. And so therefore you're just kind of like, I'll eat anything. I'm like that right now. I'm basically like, oh, I'll eat anything. I'll do anything just to hopefully something clicks, and nothing clicks. It's just kind of all the ghost of what I really want.
You really know how to make a boy special on a Tuesday night.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know. I'm hungry for something. I'll just eat anything. Hey, you want to tape a day earlier? I gotta see if you're what I want to eat.
I think it more has to do with, for me, this is something where I think we've put a lot of heart and soul into it, and I don't want to backslide on it because I know that this won't last forever. And I know that me feeling this way, hopefully, Jesus, won't last forever. And so I don't want to kill momentum more than anything else.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just trying to make a joke and laugh a little bit.
I mean, beyond losing a fight with my kitchen floor this weekend, um,
Uh,
even extra
your
life,
wife said you made a pretty good impact. I think it probably got as good as it gave.
I would say otherwise. Today, I'm at least more mobile, but it's, spending a vast majority of time with ice packs, different places, and a heating pad. Um,
Hey, but you're on your feet and it's still on the floor. So who lost that fight?
I cracked the tile.
See?
Um,
Winner.
no, not winner at all. Um, I I was very unenthused about the weekend.
Yeah.
I got to play in one game, and what I found is I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't because it was bad, or it wasn't because the players were bad, or because the story was bad, or it was run poorly, or that I sucked butts, but it just it felt like going through the motions. And you know me well enough to know that I hate that. I can do it. I can fake it, but I hate doing it. It makes it feel very disingenuous. And I kept feeling the whole time like everyone can tell I'm faking it today, which just made me so fucking anxious. I could not stand it. Um, and I kept thinking like the whole time, like we're doing this thing for like the best reason during the worst time. And I literally can't muster the fortitude to care. Like I'm just, which also just makes me more anxious and more upset and more frustrated and more likely to doom scroll through election shit I can't control and watch comments that are so unhealthy to read. Um,
Have you tried uninstalling stuff on your phone?
I'm honestly contemplating just getting rid of Facebook. I'm to that point.
Yeah.
And I don't even stay friends with people that, you know, make my mental health worse.
Yeah.
But I am to a point where it's just like I don't want to shut off the news or reading the news, but everything I read just either frustrates me, it or it disgusts me.
Yeah.
And occasionally when I read something that's like a really good feel good story, all that really leaves me with is thinking, why is why are things like this not more commonplace? Why
Well,
are why are there why don't people just be better or try to be better?
do you think that those things aren't happening in the world, or do you just think that not enough of them are making them to you?
Both.
Really?
Yeah. I think that I shouldn't say the world. Um, I think that in the world there's a tendency towards more positivity, but I think I live in a country now that doesn't have that. I think that it's because positivity doesn't get you anywhere. People
I
don't people don't watch things because they're positive. Look at how many things, how much time and effort beyond basic fictional entertainment is put into um like even a reality show, just ensuring that it's a car wreck and that you see the absolute worst in people. Like
yeah, but
I watched this young lady on YouTube and I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she does like reviews. She used to be like she does reviews and like she also does things like reads fan fiction and reads like the worst books she can find on Amazon, like self-published books. And it's really funny. Like I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I find her hilarious, but she pointed out, she's like, people don't care about good things. They don't. There's no, and she used to write for like a pretty successful magazine doing reviews. I just can't remember what it was. But she's like, even when I would write for this place before I turned YouTube into my, job, every time I would turn something in, a lot of time what I would hear is, can you spice it up a little bit? And she would say, well, what do you mean? Can you give it more of a adversarial spin? And she was like, but I liked it. I enjoyed this thing. This thing is when I don't enjoy something, you'll know it. But she's like, there would be things I enjoyed. And yet I'd be told like that's not what we pay you for. Like her giving her review of her top 15 favorite things at Disney World is hilarious because it's like her interspersed with shots of her at Disney World just fucking outrageously joyous. But at the same time, she's also like, I feel like there would be no YouTube comments if I didn't explain why I don't like these other things. So here's some things I don't like and why. Are you happy? Is this what you want? And then at the end, of course, she says, oh, and by the way, if you're pissed I didn't put any roller coasters on here, go fuck yourself. And like that's funny, but like the fact that there's this need to just to be like, oh, and I didn't like this. Just to like, there's no joy in it anymore. There's no joy in anything.
I mean,
Like
do you think that
things,
that's because, like we
it's
talked
because
about, like
it's
the
some of it's because of me. I'm not finding any joy in anything. So I have a tendency when I feel this way to not find the joy in the nuance of things. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. I mean, I think that there's a real tendency in the world in general right now, to also like not allow yourself to be sad, because I think that part of the problem in something like that is it either has to be happy or it has to be angry. Like there's no the it's not, there's this like false binary, right? Where you either have to be super positive or super negative. And like I think about it in terms of, as most things in my life, Christmas music. And hear me out. When the original Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas was written in the 40s, basically like kind of post-war, or not even, I don't even think that the war was over yet. I think it was kind of like 44, 45, like Christmas. Um, the like draft of the song is actually pretty sad. I think it reflects the sadness that people were feeling, like this lack of joy in the world and this lack of like something to just be joyful about. And I think that some of if you take all of the religious holiday music out and you take all of the kind of commercial holiday music out, this was something that I saw, people were complaining because Christmas music was on, our local station that changes over to Christmas music, which it does the day after Halloween every year and has done that for a long time. And they were complaining.
Oh, quick aside, your Christmas present came today and it makes me go, I should have got myself one of those. Cassandra saw it and she was like, yeah, she looked at it and she's like, yeah, you should have got one for yourself.
Well, maybe we can have a quarantine timeshare. I'll have it for 2 weeks and disinfect it, and you can have it for 2 weeks and disinfect it.
No,
I mean,
I'm
after I
very
have it
happy.
for a couple months and enjoy it. But
I was very happy to get it and get it before Christmas and to get it and be like, I'm so happy that I'm giving this to you.
Well,
So back to your Christmas song analogy.
I resisted the urge to jump into the comments because people were already jumping into the comments and piling on about how Christmas music before Thanksgiving and blah, blah. My usual joke is Thanksgiving needs to have a better soundtrack. But there's something about giving that is really joyous. And there's something about looking forward to a time of the year where even when things are shitty, people are better towards each other. Like that not everybody is, right? I mean, a lot of it is super commercialized, but the fact that people get angry at the fact that I like listening to Christmas music when I'm feeling down or, not during the right time of the year, um, is such a like robbery of joy, right? Because like we can't just feel joy, like you said, right? Like it has to be mixed in with some sort of commentary about it. And I always go back to this song because even when Frank Sinatra re-recorded it, like I don't even know if it was 10 years later, the original song had until then we'll have to muddle through somehow. And he was like, I'm, having a jolly Christmas, baby, like I can't have a jolly Christmas with that. So they changed it to hang a shining star upon the highest bough. And I'm a big, until then we have to muddle through somehow or get the fuck out person, because there's something about the fact that like, have yourself a merry little Christmas, let your heart be light. Like in this shitty time when we've just gone through a worldwide war, you should allow yourself to feel some joy, even if it's fleeting, that you should be able to do that. And then, you know what? The line that comes before the kind of until then we'll have to muddle through somehow is we'll basically like we'll get together if we can, but we can't right now. So until then, we're just going to have to kind of like make it through somehow. There's like this message of joy, and then there's this message of recognizing that there are actors in the world, there are events that are going on in the world that are they're just hard, and they prevent us from doing all of these things. And I look at all these songs that were written during the world wars and during the kind of economic disaster, in the kind of 20s to the 40s. And those are the songs that aren't, kind of, liturgical, that are still around, because all of them, well, I think all the good ones, not the, Sally wants a, this and Johnny wants a that, are about like finding joy in like the one time of the year where everybody kind of says like, okay, we're just going to accept that people can be joyful. And for
Sure.
me, as a non-religious person, I find great comfort in the fact that we could um, muddle through somehow, and come out the other side and still like allow your heart to be light. Even though that lyric also changed, like the original, the "Let Your Heart Be Light, next year all our troubles will be out of sight" was originally, um, "It may be your last, next year we may all be living in the past." Like that's some dark shit, you know? Um, and to me, like in that, I think, God damn it. In that, I think there's something really beautiful about um, the idea that you can allow yourself to feel joy by kind of setting the other things on the side, even if it's just for a little bit. And that even when you're experiencing joy, it's not going to be holistic. Not everything is going to be exactly right. But that you can still like say, this has all happened before, and we can kind of find moments where we can latch on to those things.
It's fair.
I don't know.
I would say that for me, the thing I keep coming back to repetitively is one of the things that gives me the most joy, that I think that makes me the happiest, is again, it's the little things around the people that I care about. It's seeing them laugh. It's playing a game around a table where we're giving each other a bunch of grief. I'm being told that I'm a terrible player against a game itself. It's feeding people. It's doing things at work where I actually like see the light bulb go off with somebody, or I see like their happiness when we talk about like being confident, and that'll lead to your success. It's feeling that intangible relationship between yourself and another human being. It's as simple as going into a store and holding a door for someone and them saying thank you. It's as simple as running into a stranger and in a line and letting them go in front of you because they have less items, and then getting into a how was your day moment. I really find myself fueled by that. It's going to wrestling shows that we're going to commentate at and seeing everybody beforehand, and the energy that everyone has and the desire to really make something special out of every moment. And then it's the afterwards of people saying, so what did you think? Or someone in between setting in on commentary and watching them figure all that out and add so much. And then afterwards, that feeling when they look at you and say, oh, this is really fun.
Well, to be fair, we couldn't do that for a while before this because we were too greedy, you know.
Yeah. I think that that is not coming back anytime soon. And that's really hard. And I find so much quietness, so much peaceful stillness in others and in those moments. I don't have that right now. And instead, I'm kind of left with the diet pop equivalent, which is this. And a lot of the things that I really do enjoy, I can't do. And the more that I can't do them, and the more it's this, the less interest I have in like everything.
I mean, so can I ask you like a probably a pretty cutting question?
I don't care.
All right, duly noted.
No, I mean, it's not, I don't have anything to hide. I mean, I'm pretty much telling anyone who listens to this, life sucks right now and I don't really have an answer for it
I mean,
beyond
I
medication.
would ask like, what else have you tried? Because I know that you've also talked about the fact that sometimes, unless you're literally like dragged to do something, that you'd rather not try something than like than kind of put yourself out there in that instance. And so I
Well,
wonder,
I
you
talk
know,
to my behavioral person every 5 weeks. Um, and not trying things keeps my anxiety under control, because what gives me anxiety is the unknown of it. Even when it's something I'm kind of aware of, it's the idea that I'll fail at it. And then even the things that I can kind of do and that I kind of enjoy, that they'll be bad. And then other people will look at it that, and that's what they'll remember, was that it was bad. Or that I'll look at it and I'll think that was really shitty. Like, why did you think that was okay? Or why did you do that? Um, when it comes to new things, they just flat out, they scare me. I have a great deal of apprehension and fear. I mean, because I'm afraid they'll be bad. I'm afraid it'll go poorly. I'm afraid that it'll somehow. I mean, I've always felt this way, but a couple years ago, I had a really bad experience, and it has made my slight feelings of being gun shy very, very real all the time. Um, I don't want to take more medications. I take so many now, and they don't work well together. I mean, Depakote worked really well for a long time, and then it almost fucking killed me. So it makes me very cognizant of that all the time, and very concerned. Um, I don't think that's a cutting question. I think that's a good question, but I do think that it's like trying to figure out how to step through the initial door of things, because the door feels like it's leads off a cliff all the time.
Yeah.
Even sometimes when I open the door and I can see the steps in front of me, it still feels like I'm walking off a cliff. And I just, part of your brain, when you feel this way all the time and you see that, endless abyss in front of you through that door, and that kind of fear and anxiety, it's stifling. It's like you feel like no matter what you do, now there's a cliff on both sides of the door, because later on I will chastise myself for not doing it. And I'll think about all the things that could have went right. So it's my brain is doesn't work right to begin with. Um, but then you add in this anxiety and just flat out, and again, just depression, and you start to realize that, like, it's kind of this forever damned if you do, damned if you don't. And on top of that, like, I've told my neurologist and I've told my behavioral person, like, my memory is even worse now in the last like 6 months than it was even before then. And I don't think it has to do with some type of additional cognitive decline. I just feel like I'm just so fucking depressed that it's like, and that affects your memory on top of that, that now it's like, there's things at work where I'm like, I know I did that. And then I'll look and I'm like, I didn't do that. How did I not remember to do that? There's things at home that I do, like simple little things that I'll be like, I don't remember how to do that. Like, I don't know how to do that. I tried playing a game last night that I played probably 70 hours of not too long ago. I literally could not remember how to play. I had to go in and redo the tutorial just to remember how to do the most basic things. And I was like, why can't I remember how to do that? Why is this like just gone? It's not like I've never done this before and done it for long periods of time and invested time and effort, and I just don't remember how to do it. It's and it's some of it's imposter syndrome, and some of it's just, like I said, I just don't want to fail. I feel like everything's failed. Like, everything I do is never, either doesn't live up to somebody else's standards, or doesn't live up to my standards, or it doesn't live up to this intangible idea of what it could be. And this is, I know that's not factual. So, I definitely don't need any help with that. It's just, it's there all the time. It's this tiny voice in your head that's just like, nope, man, you fucked that up again, or this should have been better. Why did you take a step right when you should have taken in two tiny steps right? And it always harkens back to, for me, of watching a tape in college, a game tape in college, and them circling the people on this um, student body play. And they circled the middle linebacker, and that was A. They circled the outside linebacker, and that was B. They circled the strong safety coming downhill, that was C. And we probably watched this clip about 40 times in a row. And every time they go, and you picked D, none fucking above, because I didn't get anybody. It was like I just didn't recognize where they were in space and time. And I just kept going. And I turned around and was like, fuck. And that's like, I feel like that's my entire life. Is just right there on this loop where someone's telling me constantly, like, opportunity A, opportunity B, opportunity C, and you're picking D because you're not smart enough to see those and you're fucking it up. And not just for you, but for everybody who's counting on you just to choose one. Just choose one and do your job. And it's very it's always there. But in times like these, it's very glaring. It's very up. It's right, instead of being like 10-mile stare, it's right here all the time.
I mean, what do you think that, I mean, this goes back to the kind of biting question, because I don't think it kind of bit as hard as I kind of thought it was going to. I mean, I think that that's a perfect example. But I also think that you vacillate between A, B, C, F, G, T, U, X, 45, maybe a niner in there. I mean, do you think that having kind of regularity like this, like not having the kind of weekend show and not having heel turn every other week, I mean, is there something to, like, kind of in a very boring fashion saying, like, I'm just going to pick A and commit to doing A, like, over and over again? Or, if B is, B 1 through 12, that I say, like, I'm only going to do B 1 and 2. Or, is there something to, like, oscillating between digital things and, like, analog things, that you could try to find some regularity in something that would not even necessarily bring you joy, but bring you the kind of structure to be doing something regularly that doesn't kind of cause anxiety? Or do you feel that there's something in all of this that is just the matter of, like, this kind of having to pass somehow, even though you may not know, what that is, into a period where you feel like you can enjoy things or be motivated by things again?
Man.
Because like Tiny Meng Tuesday, right? I was thinking about that as something that I think is a really, a good thing, and that you and Matt and Dave were all, like, really excited about it, and it was really fun. I don't know if you thought it was fun, but after this conversation, but I think in the moment, you guys were all having this just, like, really genuine connection that was really a lot of it. It was very enjoyable for me to watch. Even though I was kind of I was viewing on the side. I kind of feel like that with, like, watching stuff on Twitch, like watching Joel draw, or watching, other things like that sometimes I find more pleasure in not necessarily doing something, but, like, the thing I'm doing, like you said, watching things earlier. You know, you can kind of live vicariously a little bit. I don't know.
Kind of lost what the question was for a second.
It's basically like, do you think having structure and eliminating some of the, like, jumping from thing to thing to thing, like, because we have everything at our disposal, does nothing hold an enticement?
Not currently. There's things that I have to do. There's things that I need to do, and there's things that I feel like in a good way. Okay, so I have to work. There's just no way around that. Things I need to do are take meds and get out of bed and take a shower and put on clothes. Um, and then I have like less formal obligations, and these would be like podcast or Down and Outlands or Tiny Mean Tuesday or those things. And these are things that I very much enjoy the idea of. They're they're very much kind of more waning moments during it where there's kind of an ebb and flow. One reason I thought it went so well is I think that again it's a microcosm of what I like to do, and that's talk to people and have them talk about themselves and what they enjoy. Um, so being able to ask Matt and David questions and like pick their brain. And at the same time, my hands being busy, so I'm not just jigging like crazy. Um, I think helps. But would I walk away from that every Tuesday and just be like, that's an awesome thing that I was a part of? No, it's something that is like it's there and it's good, and I hope people enjoy it. And I understand that it has merit. I understand that it has merit, like, and I see that merit, and I can feel that merit a lot of the time. But it's not like I am. It's not something where I feel like this innate sense of absolute joy during it, because I really don't feel that about anything. I mean, very, very rarely. I mean, I think Cassandra would tell you that that's been that way for a little while now. And I just don't. I'll have a little bit of an ebb and flow, like where you'll see that change. But overall, I mean, she used to kind of say she was like, "Oh, I can tell when you're going to have seizures because you get really moody." Um, and she said in about the last year, she's like, "It's harder to tell because it's not like you're moody all the time, but you tend to be a lot flatter." I think some of that's medication. They kind of said that was going to be a thing, but some of it's just like it's just all amplified the last since fucking February. I just can't get the thought out of my head that like people are needlessly dying and that the morbid thought of it is like, well, all you have to do is lock yourself away in the overlook and everything will be great. Because if you don't and you get sick, you're probably going to die. That's not something fun to think about either. But at the same time, it's just like sometimes just this is like a different kind of death. It's just it feels like all the creativity and fun and personality that I like to think I have is just squeezed.
So, I mean, how do you like rectify that? Like, what's the kind of low hanging fruit to balance the anxiety of doing something new or doing something that you kind of will fear you'll fail at or second guess, in a situation.
Step number one is don't go to sleep after work, because if I had my way, I would do that every single day. Step number two is doing what I do now, which is try to meet your obligations. Um, and I don't mean obligation in a bad way. I don't want anybody to take it that way at all. Obligations to me are things that are done based on your social contract. So I have a social contract with my job. They want me to do something and they want me to be good at it, and I do it. And I try to be very good at it. I have a social contract with everyone I work with. Everyone I serve, it's the same thing. Like, they don't need to get the shittiest version of me. They don't need to get this. They need me to be like hype, you know? I need to be turned up to 11, and I do that, and it's not fun, but I try to make sure it's genuine. When we play, Monday nights, the social contract I have with those folks is that they deserve the best game they can get that I can give them in that day. So I try very hard to do that. When we like have coffee, I try very hard to stay out of the pitfalls of like this, out of the morass that is, the quagmire that is me just being like, hey man, I hate myself. I hate this life and I hate everything involved in it. When I, like this last weekend, it was a lot of like, even in the only got to play one game, it was like fake it till you make it, and I'm good at that. So those are the steps. Meet your obligations, because my friends and the people that count on me and the people I serve and the people I work for, they don't deserve this, because I've seen how that plays out. I know, because the manic depressive parent, I've seen how depression isolates. It steals your time. It steals your relationships. It steals everything from you. I refuse to let that happen. Now, is it truly the best of me, or is it just a facet or a facade or a mask that I wear? It's probably a little bit of all of it. But the things that I do with and for everybody else, those things are part of those obligations, and they keep me from probably being a lot more difficult to deal with, as well as a lot more unhealthy. Another one that's really easy is I don't drink. I think I've had like one couple drinks in like 8, 9 months. And some of it's because of medication, but some of it is because I also know that I don't want to have a case of sad bastard syndrome. Because I know that I'm real capable of that. I can go from the heights. What's the Robert E. Howard line from Conan?
I am not the person to
He
ask.
is a man capable of great mirth and terrible melancholy. I don't want to be that, because again, I think that's very much a description of my father and his manic depression. I prefer instead to try to stay as even as I can. And I'm trying to stay in patterns and inside structure. I do better with that. I'm more successful with that, I think. But I think that's what, it's what I've tried to do. It's just, I don't think right now is like the end time's bad, but it's like every day waking up with a giant albatross around everybody's neck. And it's not just me, Jesus. There are so many people that are suffering 10,000 times worse than I am on so many levels. And that's another reason to be like, you know what, get through, push through. There's people that I serve that are suffering 10,000 times worse than me. And that's why when I talk to them and I help them, they get a manufactured best version of me for that time period because they can't afford to have this regular version of me being like, yeah, this shit's fucking terrible. Let me tell you. So that I also realized that I only have so much in that gas tank. And when that gas tank gets empty, you get this, you know. And I try not to run it empty, but it runs empty, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, having coping mechanisms and putting things into place like structure and not being afraid to talk about how you feel, not being afraid of, trying to figure out roots. Medications treat symptoms, they don't treat roots. And the roots of my stuff is trauma and it's um, inability to reconcile with loss. It's a lot of different things. But I keep trying to work through that. I keep trying to find, you know, good coping mechanisms for those root issues. Um, at the same time, I try to deal with the symptomology. It's no different than any other disease. And I think you can't lose track of that. I mean, it doesn't define who you are. It's no different than saying, I'm right handed and I have red hair. It's just a trait. It's just really exacerbated during all this because the other things I use to cope, they're not there. Like I can't rely on them the way I normally do. You know, I feel less like a failure and I feel less the pangs of loss and the self-imposed feelings of failing people who are no longer here when I am there for other people. Because I feel almost like you're trying to balance that cosmic scale a little bit. And I can't balance that scale right now, and it's really, really hard. It's really frustrating. Um, it's like, again, it's just like trying to put your finger on that thing. And especially for me, it's like I know what the thing is. It's just there's no answer for it, which is even more frustrating. Because I like to look at whatever it is we're trying to do or I'm trying to get accomplished, and I like to get it off my plate. I like to get it done. If we're going to do it, let's do it type of thing. And having that where you're like desperately wanting to do something about something and you can't because the tools just don't exist currently is really, I don't know, it's maddening. But not John maddening. That's different. So what am I trying to say? There's no fucking hope. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that if there's anything, that I think that we can take out of this is that there's the sober reality of the situation. I think that whether it's my, goofy Christmas song metaphor and, the fact that you can find something that you hold on to and you can allow, yourself those moments or, whether it's just kind of struggling through and knowing that you're just going to have to get through it, right? Like until then we'll have to muddle through somehow, I think is like that's why that song like hits for me.
And it should.
It's like I think that if there's a chapter title, I think that that's it. And the fact that the fact that we have to mask that with hang a shining star upon the highest bough, I think is part of the problem. And I think that sometimes we have to muddle through and we have to make do with what we have, and that's not always going to be the best, and it's not always going to bring us joy, and it's not always going to allow us to stop feeling shitty about the way the world is, or or even allowing ourselves the kind of selfishness to, even if we don't kind of have it as bad as as other people, that we can allow ourselves kind of in our own experience to feel bad. um
And that's, I think, like something, I think that's really well put. You're allowed to feel bad. I am really grateful that I have the people I have, because I think one of the hardest things that I saw, especially towards the disillusionment of my family and the dissolving of that unit, is my mom couldn't afford to feel bad because my dad felt bad all the time. And it just made her feel worse. I've always said this. I got my dad in the divorce, and the only reason I got him is because like I begged for them not to use us three as kind of pawns in that game, that passive aggressive game. And my mom did. And I don't think she did it purposely. She did it because she was just so pushed to the absolute limit by him. She had no other options but to go nuclear. And because my siblings were there all the time and saw all of it, they definitely, sided with her. And I was kind of like, well, I can't, if he's all alone, this is going to last 6 months tops and he's going to kill himself. And I could not live with that. So, once he passes, that's dumb. Once he passed, it's again a lot of unspooling of that. Is everyone's allowed to have their feelings and their viewpoints on things. We don't have to agree about them, nor should we, because if you're racist, sexist, homophobic, all those things, I don't agree with you. You could take your feelings and go fuck yourself with them, but you can have them. When you're like saying, I'm going to ask a cutting question, or why haven't you done this? Or why haven't you tried this? You're allowed to have that feeling. You're allowed to have that voice. You're allowed to have that part of our relationship and say, come on, man, you're allowed to be that voice, because that voice is important in our conversation. And I'm allowed to be like, yep, that doesn't work. And I think having that allowance and respect for each other's feelings, all of each other's feelings, that people we care about, because don't get me wrong, not to get political, but if you were down with the Cheeto, then go fuck yourself. I don't care about your feelings, because you have disregarded the feelings of so many other groups out there that, to me, you're barely a human being. So I don't have anything for you in my reserves. Instead, I choose to take what I do have and dole that out to the people who give a shit about other people, whether they agree with them or not, but who are trying actively to make the world a better place for everybody, not excluding. I think that's okay too, to cut those things out, because they just, after a while, I think that other stuff just breaks you. I'm trying to reason with the unreasonable. You're allowed to have your feelings. You should have them, and you should talk about them. For fuck's sake, don't just like hold it in. Talk to somebody. That shit's too heavy not to have a dialogue about it. Not to mention, if you never talk about it, you never come up with coping mechanisms. You never take the time to look at yourself through someone else's perspective. Because if you're going through bad shit, your perspective is not correct. I know when I look at myself in the mirror and I see something horrible and I see complete failure and I see just base ugliness inside and out, I know that's not real. My logical brain knows because based upon the review group of all the people I know, I'm the outlier because I'm the one who sees that. So that must mean that my viewpoint is not correct, purely from like scientific methodology, just looking at it very logically, taking the feeling out of it. The people who care about you, they they want you to have a voice and they want you to be able to be a complete human being. They want you to be able to tell them when you are sad and they want to share in your happiness. Real people who are your friends and even your acquaintances, they're that way because they care, because they invest in you and you invest in them and you together form community. Um, don't ever lose sight of that. Don't lose yourself inside yourself. It's the about you through the perspective of others, and it's about someone else through your perspective that you're sharing with them. People will never ever see the best of themselves. The only way they do is they see the best of themselves through other people. And that's really weird. It's beautiful, but it's really weird and it's really hard, like right now, because again, this is so artificial for me when I'm someone who, like, that's why, like, when we just have coffee, we're just sitting like 10 feet apart in a driveway. It's a big deal because, or when we've gotten together where there's been a couple of us and we're sitting like fucking 8 feet apart and we're smoking meat or we're hanging out or we're having a conversation about toys or whatever it is, how important that is. Because to me, that's like gives me back some of that, what I'm missing. I'm like an addict that way. At least temporarily recharges those things. Um, and that's awesome. Like I said, people, my my people, the people who I choose to be in that Venn diagram of friends and acquaintances and people I care about, they're family to me and they bring the best out of me because they show me my best. And when we struggle like this and when we see everybody struggling, like you said, you have to like get through, and it's not just getting through for you, it's getting through for everybody who cares about you. We all do better when we do better. Or we do better when we all do better. I
Yep.
can't
We
remember.
all do better when we all do better. Yeah, Paul
Yeah.
Austin.
And it's such a simplistic statement, and it's so much it's so much truth. You know, I find a lot of times that the most simplistic stuff is the base truth.
Yeah.
It's the black and white honesty of humanity. And I think that the world would be a lot better place if we all just realized that and took the time to see it in one another. I mean, right now is really hard and for everybody. And I say that like 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
And it still hasn't lost that pang of hurt and frustration and sadness and fear that it's not getting better, that it's just going to get worse. And that while I've been peripherally touched by this in the standpoint of loss, that statistically, that doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already missed one funeral throughout this. You
Yeah.
know, I don't want any more funerals, and I certainly don't want to miss a bunch of them where I don't get a chance to say goodbye. But I think that's just where things are. I mean, sometimes being brutally honest with yourself just makes things sadder, which is silly. I would think that honesty wouldn't do that, but it does.
Well, I mean, I think that that is kind of like a good place coming full circle, right? I mean, I think that that's the through the years we all will be together if the fates allow. Like it doesn't have to be the hang a shining star upon the highest bough. It's a until then we'll have to muddle through somehow. And I think that everything that we've talked about, sometimes you just have to be unhappy about the way the world is working. And so I think that maybe we'll put a Christmas bow on this chapter of A Heal's Guide to Survival and say sometimes surviving isn't thriving. It's finding ways to cope and to create mechanisms to make it through until we can all be together again. I think good.
Find those small victories and then relish them because you deserve them.
Yeah.